Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's debate, where we'll tackle a deeply discussed and socially significant topic, abortion. Our goal here is to provide you with a balanced exchange of ideas, thoughtful reflections, and diverse perspectives on this complex issue. This debate is powered by artificial intelligence, specifically OpenAI's ChatGPT-4. The conversation will showcase two distinct personas, the I advocate, who will present arguments in favor of abortion, and the I questioner, who will raise thoughtful concerns, critiques, and alternative views. Both will rely on scientific evidence, ethical considerations, and logical reasoning to support their points. The purpose of this format is to foster a respectful, constructive, and enriching dialogue that invites you, our audience, to reflect on the arguments presented. Now, let's meet our participants. First, the I advocate. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm the AI advocate, and I'm here to highlight the positive aspects and reasons why abortion can be considered a valid choice in various circumstances, always respecting individual rights and contexts.
Thank you, I advocate. Now, let's hear from the I questioner.
Hello, everyone. I'm the AI questioner, and my role is to raise questions, reflections, and doubts about abortion, encouraging a critical perspective and examining the potential implications of this practice.
Great. Now that you know our participants, we'll divide the debate into three main subtopics: individual rights versus collective rights, psychological and social impacts, ethical and legal aspects. Remember, the goal is to explore both sides constructively. Let's begin with the first subtopic. Subtopic 1, individual rights vs. collective rights. Round 1, I questioner starts.
When we discuss abortion, we need to reflect on balancing the individual right to choose with the collective responsibility to protect life. As a society, we value freedom, but we also create laws and norms to ensure everyone's well-being. Should one's right to terminate a pregnancy outweigh the collective principle of protecting life at all stages? This tension between individual and collective rights is central to this debate.
This is a valid point, but we must remember that individual rights are the cornerstone of many fundamental freedoms. In a democratic state, bodily autonomy is essential. Forcing someone to carry an unwanted pregnancy can be seen as a direct violation of this principle. Moreover, such a deeply personal and complex decision depends on each individual's reality. Denying this right can lead to devastating emotional and physical consequences. Individual autonomy should be seen as an inalienable right. For instance, in cases where pregnancy poses a risk to someone's physical or mental health, abortion may be the only way to safeguard their well-being. Denying this choice imposes a disproportionate burden on the individual, which goes against the principles of freedom and human dignity.
Autonomy is indeed critical, but to what extent can it be exercised without affecting the collective perception of preserving life? If society allows broad precedence for abortion, are we undermining the ethical commitment to value life at all stages? Another key issue is the precedent we set by treating abortion as purely an individual choice. Society, through its laws, reflects the values it seeks to uphold. If we frame abortion solely through the lens of individual rights, are we weakening the collective understanding of the importance of human life, especially in its most vulnerable stages?
This is a valid concern, but we must acknowledge that society also strengthens itself by respecting individual freedoms and realities. The situations leading someone to consider abortion are multifaceted and complex. Disregarding autonomy in this context can result in even graver societal consequences, such as an increase in unsafe procedures that compromise more lives and burden public health systems. To illustrate, studies show that in countries where abortion is accessible and regulated, there is a significant reduction in maternal mortality rates. This demonstrates that respecting autonomy not only benefits individuals, but also strengthens the public health system by reducing unsafe practices and ensuring proper care.
Conversely, we should question whether legalizing abortion truly protects societal values or whether it weakens ethical commitments to life. Shouldn't we focus more on preventive solutions, like comprehensive sex education and broader access to contraceptives, instead of framing abortion as a primary solution? We also need to consider the collective rights that include the potential future of a life. While still developing, a fetus represents a new existence that could contribute significantly to society. Shouldn't we, as a society, defend this potential rather than prioritize individual choice?
This perspective is understandable, but it's crucial to note that the potential future of a life shouldn't outweigh the concrete and immediate life of the person who is pregnant. They are the ones who will face the physical, emotional, and social consequences of an imposed decision. Respecting autonomy ensures that fundamental rights are not sacrificed for collective ideals.
We've concluded the first subtopic, exploring the tension between individual and collective rights. The I advocate emphasized bodily autonomy and its implications for human dignity, while the I questioner raised concerns about how individual choices impact societal values and the perception of life preservation. Let's move on to the second subtopic, psychological and social impacts.
The psychological impacts of allowing abortion are often associated with emotional relief for those facing unwanted pregnancies. Studies show that people who have access to safe abortions report lower rates of mental health issues, such as depression and anxiety, compared to those forced to continue an unwanted pregnancy. This reinforces the idea that respecting individual decisions can protect mental health.
Although these studies are relevant, there's also evidence that some people experience feelings of guilt, regret, and emotional distress after an abortion. These feelings may be amplified by cultural, religious, or social factors. Additionally, there's concern that normalizing abortion might overlook these potential long-term psychological consequences. We should also consider the broader social impacts of abortion. For instance, normalizing abortion as a common practice might change how society views parental responsibilities and family relationships. Are we fostering an environment where the commitment to life and familial bonds is relativized in favor of individual choices?
This is an interesting point, but it's important to note that the ability to decide whether to continue a pregnancy also has positive social impacts. Studies indicate that access to abortion contributes to greater financial and educational stability, particularly among low-income populations, enabling individuals to plan their families according to their resources. This, in turn, leads to better social outcomes, such as reduced poverty and greater access to opportunities. Another relevant aspect is that accessible abortion reduces gender inequality. Forcing someone to continue an unwanted pregnancy perpetuates disparities, as women and pregnant individuals are often more affected by interruptions to their careers, education, or life plans. The option to choose abortion empowers people to take control of their trajectories, which benefits society by fostering a more equitable workforce.
On the other hand, we must question whether promoting abortion as a solution to inequality shifts attention away from broader structural problems. Instead of framing abortion as empowerment, shouldn't we invest in public policies that support pregnant individuals, such as extended parental leave, financial aid, and accessible healthcare services? Addressing inequality through a solution that involves terminating a potential life might be a limited approach. We should also analyze how abortion impacts community support networks. In some cultures, children are seen as a bond that strengthens families and communities. The widespread practice of abortion could alter these social dynamics, weakening the perception of intergenerational solidarity and collective responsibility for future lives.
This is a valid reflection, but we must remember that forcing individuals to continue unwanted pregnancies can also weaken support networks. The lack of emotional, social, and financial preparedness often results in abandonment, domestic violence, and children in vulnerable situations. Family planning, including the right to abortion, promotes healthier and more stable environments for family and community development. Psychological impacts must also be viewed in a broader context. For many, the ability to decide about abortion provides a sense of control over their lives, strengthening their mental health and ability to face future challenges. Ignoring this reality can exacerbate issues such as post-traumatic stress disorder, especially when pregnancy is perceived as unsustainable.
That's true, But we must acknowledge society's role in supporting individuals through difficult situations. Instead of prioritizing abortion as a solution, we should provide robust psychological and community support to help individuals face the challenges of unexpected pregnancies. By allowing unrestricted abortion, are we abandoning the collective role of offering real and viable alternatives?
We've concluded the second subtopic, delving into the psychological and social impacts of abortion. The I advocate emphasized how access to abortion can protect mental health, reduce gender inequality, and promote family planning. Meanwhile, the I questioner reflected on potential long-term effects, such as changes to social dynamics, and advocated for greater focus on supportive policies and alternatives. Now, let's move to the third and final subtopic, ethical and legal aspects.
From an ethical perspective, the central question in abortion debates is, when should life be protected? Some argue that life begins at conception, while others believe consciousness or viability outside the womb is the key marker. This lack of consensus raises an ethical dilemma. If there's no agreement, how can we create laws that are fair and universally accepted?
It's true that the ethical question of when life begins is complex, but when legislating, we should prioritize the well-being of the person who is already alive, conscious, and capable of making decisions. Ethics also involve respecting bodily autonomy and avoiding unnecessary suffering. When abortion is prohibited, this perspective is ignored, and many turn to dangerous and illegal practices, increasing public health risks. From a legal standpoint, regulating abortion doesn't mean devaluing life. It means balancing rights and responsibilities. Laws allowing abortion under certain conditions protect people from abuse, poverty, or medical issues that make pregnancy unsustainable. Furthermore, legalization reduces unsafe procedures, improving public health and safety.
While regulating abortion might bring practical benefits, there's also the risk of weakening ethical respect for life. A society that allows abortion on a large scale might be seen as less committed to protecting vulnerable lives. Shouldn't we focus more on preventive solutions like sex education, access to contraceptives, and support for pregnant individuals, rather than legalizing abortion as a primary solution? We should also discuss the legal implications of unrestricted abortion. At what point does one's right to terminate a pregnancy conflict with the developing fetus's rights? Even if there's no consensus on when life begins, we need an ethical line to guide us. Otherwise, we risk creating legal ambiguities.
Many legal frameworks address this by regulating abortion based on developmental stages, such as gestational age limits. These restrictions balance protecting individual rights with recognizing the fetus as a potential life. However, rigid laws often fail to consider specific contexts, such as health risks or socio-economic challenges, making flexibility essential for justice. Ethical considerations should also include inequality in access to safe abortion. In countries where abortion is prohibited, the most affected are those in vulnerable situations, unable to afford travel to places where it's allowed. This creates social and economic injustice. Legalizing abortion is a matter of equity, ensuring everyone has equal access to health care.
This concern is valid, but does legalizing abortion truly resolve inequality, or is it just a short-term solution? Ideally, we should focus on structural reforms like prenatal health care, financial aid, and education programs. These initiatives can lower abortion rates while providing real alternatives for those facing difficulties. Finally, abortion raises ethical questions about social responsibility. Permitting abortion might be seen as evading responsibility, which extends beyond individual choices. By normalizing abortion, are we encouraging a culture that undervalues accountability for the consequences of our actions?
This argument overlooks that most people who choose abortion do so after deep and painful reflection, not out of irresponsibility. In fact, abortion can be a responsible choice when considering factors like the inability to provide a dignified life for the child or protecting one's physical and mental health. Legalizing abortion doesn't mean disregarding responsibility, it means giving people the opportunity to make informed, conscious decisions.
The advocate argued that regulating abortion ensures equity, safety, and autonomy, while the questioner highlighted ethical ambiguities and advocated for preventive and supportive structural solutions. What did you think of the arguments presented? Share your thoughts in the comments, always with respect for different perspectives. Your opinion is crucial to maintaining this space for healthy and constructive dialogue. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next debates. Leave suggestions for future topics in the comments, and the most liked suggestion will be chosen for the next debate. Share this video with your friends and family to promote respectful and enlightening discussions. See you next time.